everyone. I'm Rachel. I was initially pretty nervous about admitting this, but after this morning's State of the Union, I don't feel so scared to say that I've actually never used processing to code anything before. I work mostly in HTML and CSS and jQuery, so I'm very grateful to Tayun and Sin for giving an open call and giving me an opportunity to come and speak. And so when you're writing these things, there's always that element of write what you know. And since I obviously don't know much about processing, what I can talk about is care. And I'm so pleased to know that I've resonated with so many of the themes here of care as a gift, of just being open to others' experiences and delving deeply in with someone. So instead of lining up like this is how you care for someone and revisiting those foundations in such a linear way, I wanted to share a story. So when I was very young, I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, and all of my siblings are at least 10 years older than me. So there's a big gap in our experience, but we were all from a very young age physically and emotionally abused by our parents. And I'm going to start reading now because I don't want to let this get too detailed and weird. But my closest sibling is 10 years older than me. And when my dad divorced and remarried, divorced my mom and remarried to my stepmother, he took custody of my older siblings first. And I was less than a year old when they all left the house and I was left behind with my abusive mother. And it wasn't until I was 3 years old that my dad came and rescued me from that situation. But by then, 2 years alone with an abuser, you're very damaged. And I was less than 4 years old. And I didn't know how to process or how to really go through the feelings that I was having and what I was experiencing in a new family, a new language, having a new mother. And when I think back to that time, all I remember really is crying a lot and not knowing how to voice what I was feeling. And as crazy as that time was, I remember starting to receive these letters from my siblings, and they were filled with careful curiosity about what I was going through, and filled with worry about my mental health, things that they saw me going through that they had also experienced, and advice for how to get through these things. And maybe I couldn't fully comprehend it when I was reading it or receiving it, but every Christmas or on my birthday, I looked forward to a card that I could open and know that my siblings were looking out for me. And it wasn't always on a holiday. Sometimes it was a surprise. Another story that sticks out in my mind is in my first grade class, I was opening my lunch pail, and inside, kind of stuffed on the front, I found my favorite caramel apple lollipop and a little note from my sister that said, "I wanted you to have something that made you smile today, and I love you." And I happened to look out the window and I saw her walking down the ramp of my school and exiting the gate, and realizing she walked to my school to give me something, and how much that meant to me. And I guess when we're thinking about this idea of coding as a form of care, that is what I hope that it can be, is stemming from a place of deep connection and understanding. And whether you are of that community that you're trying to reach to, or you see someone that you would like to connect to, let that, whatever you make, whatever your gift is, let it come from a place that is where you've been standing beside them and knowing them before even creating anything. Walk with them. And I also feel like that's such a basic concept, and I've been nervous about just saying this, like, talk to people, get to know them. But standing at the opening of what this field can be, or this art form can be, I wanted to revisit these foundations just so that we can remember that gift that we hopefully have received that touched us at a time that we really needed it, or relating to that struggle of trying to think of a gift for someone that you don't know very well, and how awkward that can feel, giving a gift and having that anxiety of, will they like this or not? But just remembering how you should take the time. And these walls that get built between us of fear of, will I offend them? Fear of, will I be able to relate to them well enough? Those are valid fears, and I feel those a lot myself, but that shouldn't stop you from trying to reach out, because if they can feel how genuine you are and how non-judgmental, or that your approach is genuine, then there is always that leeway built in for, this person is really trying, and there's that test that you kind of pass when you meet someone. We're like, is this person worthy enough for me to allow inside of my sanctuary to let them get to know who I am? So just try to keep that at the forefront. And that's something that I'm learning as well, is just to be vulnerable and to be able to share your experiences and be curious, as hard as that can be. That your curiosity is still very, very, very important and needed and welcomed. Even if you're within a marginalized community, there are questions that are offensive, but I think, like I said, we always leave that room for someone who is genuinely searching. So, I guess. So, when I started writing this talk, I was also thinking of, what can these projects actually look like? What does a Coding for Care project look like? And I am a recent graduate of the School for Poetic Computation, and so I've been following the projects of the students that have matriculated after me. And there was a project by a student named Marcus Fleming called Help Desk. And I spoke with him about his project, and what it is just a simple blue screen that has the question, what's your issue? And you type in what you're feeling for that day, what your emotional state is for that day, and it prints a small ticket that you hang with the tickets of people that have come before you. And he spoke about how it was so powerful for him to see the reactions of people that saw a similar issue to their own, or saw something that they didn't realize was an issue, or just that solidarity that's felt from seeing someone's vulnerability and relating to it, or taking it in as a new thing. And when I asked him what inspired him, he said it was because his father was a tech support worker who was always giving support to people over the phone, but never receiving support in return, and how that changed him into someone that was a little bit more angry, and descending into a little bit of sadness because he didn't have that outlet in return. So his son saw his father's pain and created an outlet that he thinks his father would have wanted. And I think that's so powerful and so simple, and that coding as care doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can just be something simple, like recognizing that pain isn't being represented in a way that is like comprehensible, and trying to find ways that are more easy to consume or understand. And so I want to just encourage everyone to think about what experiences you've been having, what you wish you could see, pain that you've seen other people experience, and how you can respond to that or create something that speaks to them. And for me, I'm just hoping to have more conversations and connect with more people that I don't normally connect with. So please come speak to me. I would love to. And I hope that you will too. And I hope you create some beautiful gifts. Thank you.